Mark Andreessen went on a whole rant because in Silicon Valley, psychedelics, LSD, shrooms are like rampant amongst founders, employees. And he went on this rant that basically said like Burning Man used to be just 1 week of everyone doing hard drugs.
Right.
And then now it's 24/7, 365. Yeah. And founders are quitting. Once they get on these stuff, they leave their companies. They just give up and like go become DJs, honestly. I always thought, because I know how that culture works, that people do change when they do it all the time.
It's funny too, because I don't know this for 100% fact, but I saw that like, I don't know, either like attendance was down or something was down about Burning Man this year.
Yeah, it was.
It was a little softer. And it would make sense that if Burning Man is just 365 days a year, you don't need to go to Burning Man as much.
Exactly.
So that makes total sense.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Anand, you have some connection to some very famous murderers, or what's...
Yeah, so the Menendez brothers killed their parents in the 90s.
Right.
And it was a very famous trial. And now there's a docu-series basically breaking it all down.
Yep.
And they were SoCal guys. And
didn't they go to a Laker game that night or something? Isn't there like a famous photo of them like...
Yeah, like the night they killed him or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So they did it to try to get the estate. The parents are rich. And I'm sure the docuseries explains it all. But what has always been fascinating to me, so my tennis coach that I would go train with, he was in Northridge at CSUN, Cal State University of Northridge. And I used to train with them. And he, great tennis coach. His name's Craig Signorelli. And we became friendly, obviously, because I saw him like every day.
Yeah.
And he told me a story that he turned in the Menendez brothers because he was like best friends with them.
Okay.
And this is, I was like 16, probably 15, 16, 17, like around those. And I didn't know what to believe.
Right.
So it wasn't until college I went, like he told me, he's like, I turned these guys in, but he told me he waited like 6 or 7 months till he turned them in. And because he knew what happened.
Yeah.
And then his parents or his dad stopped talking to him because he thought, he's like, if you knew your friends were murderers,
right,
turn them in immediately, which, you know, I mean,
reasonable.
And then he had to go to the witness protection program. And it wasn't until college, because the internet at 15, 16 didn't really have like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And in college, I remember just like, I got to see if this is bullshit or not.
Right.
Like, did he really is he really part of this whole like thing? And it was all over the internet. Like there was LA Times articles that you could find. And then I'm not watching the show, but Amanda's watching. And apparently he's all over the show.
Really?
Like his name.
Right. Because he was just their friend. He wasn't their tennis coach.
No, they used to play tennis together.
Right.
I mean, this is like decades ago, right? Like he was a coach when he, you know, in his next life. But I always remembered the story and I was like, is this real or is this fake?
Yeah.
Now, I think it's pretty clear it's real.
That's pretty cool. I will say that's the type of cool stuff that like, I feel like happens growing up in LA. You know, there's just like more high profile crimes, unfortunately, high profile everything. But, you know, there's going to be kids who are like, oh, I went to school with Diddy's kid. You know, I knew the blah, blah, blah. I knew what was going on before anyone did. He told me in middle school. It's just like there's more high profile stuff going on. And that's a pretty cool. Why aren't you watching it?
I will. I just
okay.
I just haven't. Yeah, I want to watch it because in the show, apparently they claim he had like a lover's quarrel with one of the brothers. So I don't know. That's what Amanda was texting me.
Boy, there might have been more to that old tennis coach than you knew. Speaking of Diddy, might have been a little freak off going on in Northridge.
And obviously, Eric is like, what were you doing at CSUN with your tennis coach?
Right. Turns out the guy was like friends with murderers and maybe having lovers quarrels. Holy shit. You know, you got to be careful. You think you're all safe on the tennis court.
Yeah. And
That's
he trained
amazing.
like really good players. I was probably the worst player that he trained.
And they use his real name in the thing. Like I would imagine, doesn't that make stuff a little weird?
They say Craig, according to Amanda, but I don't know if they say his last name.
That would be
He's
so
like,
weird. Like, you know, if you're now just going about your completely normal life, and then you know that there's like wild people who will even hear Craig and then they'll look it up and then they'll see it's that guy. And like, I'm sure he's getting like weird messages and shit.
Yeah, because it's like 35 years ago or something.
Right.
That this happened.
Yeah, but
and
now
it was
it's
a
gonna be
big
super
deal
popular.
in LA. I don't know nationally I think nationally people paid attention to it, but in LA it was a massive deal. It's like these two rich kids
Right.
that killed their parents to get their estate, and they're still in jail. I think they're in jail for life.
And now they have a hit Netflix series.
Yeah. How does that work? Do you think they get paid for it or no?
They can't,
Like
right? There must be some sort of like the same way you can make like a Ted Bundy series, you know, like you must be able to depict public events or something. There's no way. There's no way they're giving them money.
And then there's another series that we're connected to. The Aaron Hernandez series is coming on Hulu.
Damn, between Diddy, Aaron Hernandez, and you with your weird tennis coach, we've got some dark associations over the years.
Yeah, our friend was Aaron Hernandez's agent and a close friend.
Come to the office.
Just come to the office. We'd go out. I would never have suspected him to kill 3 people.
Who would have thought? Diddy might have killed 12.
Easy. I think that's the over under is probably 15.
Oh man. I'm very grateful that we, made it out of that, of like, we obviously still live here and still kind of involved a little bit, but like that peak time of being like out and hanging out with Aaron Hernandez and, it's really, we ended up really normal, I'm really thankful.
But I think that's part of the issue with a lot of these things, because Aaron Hernandez specifically, I think his brother also went off the rails now.
Right.
And we knew his brother too. When you're kind of just casually hanging out with people, it's not like you're talking to them 24/7. You don't suspect that they could do all these crazy things.
Right. And like I said, that's probably the most common in LA of anywhere, because it just attracts the wildest people, like Aaron Hernandez, when he's in the off season, wants to come to LA and meet people and try to do business and, whatever. And it just, I think probably more than any other city, you never know who you're meeting.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard so many stories about so many different people. And
there's still a couple of people I have questions about that are free and still doing their thing. I still want to know what they do. It's something doesn't add up.
I agree. And I think I know a few of the names you're mentioning.
Yeah. Okay. Dee is out. Dee's traveling for work. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. I think he's in Austin. I don't know what he's doing in Austin.
Nice. Maybe he's going to see Joe Rogan.
I told him to.
Yeah, he should. He should go to the Comedy Mothership.
We still need to do that. We got a plan.
I know we really do. I feel
go.
like it's like a unique time when it's very special.
Is Kill Tony every week or what is it?
Yeah, every
How
Monday.
do they do it? Every Monday. Got it.
Yep. And like, I have good relationships there. It's some of the people from the Comedy Store. Like, remember when we went and did Roast Battle?
Yeah.
The guy who invited me to that now works there. So we have an in. We would be treated well. I think we should take advantage of it. Okay, so Dee's out. It's me and Anand. We're going to rip through some news. What do we want to start with? You want to start with cyber attacks?
Yeah. So China. So this is, here's where I want to start with. I know you always say like, I want to know what we're doing because it seems like we just keep losing.
Yes.
So apparently it's called like Salt Typhoon, and they infiltrated routers, internet providers in America, and took sensitive data from everyone.
Right.
And the US government reported it publicly. So my point here is the Chinese government won't report what Americans are doing.
Right.
So like we just, to your point, you think we're just like losing.
I know, you're right. And I know why they don't. And I understand that it's two different things. And also I'm not mad that we do. I'm not saying we should stop, but like it causes the reaction feeling like we constantly hear about these like Chinese spies at big companies or in universities or cyber attacks. And I don't get to hear about any of the points we're putting on the board over there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're putting in real work. I'm sure we're beating them, but I want to know some highlights.
Yeah, because the Chinese government, just to control their population, can't say the Americans have infiltrated our entire system.
Right. They would never.
They would never in a million years.
Right. So what happened? I mean, is this anything that anyone has to worry about? I mean, obviously these constant cyber attacks and, people have worried about the power grid and just the ability to, you could cause a lot of damage. This one feels like nothing we really have to worry about, just kind of a constant, has us on our toes.
I think it's a constant thing. And I feel like they do these types of things just to poke the bear.
Right.
To be like, hey, we can do it and we can do much more.
Yeah.
And like, I'm convinced Russia, China, all these different countries that have a lot of engineers and talent could infiltrate everything if they wanted to in America.
Yeah. Not only that, but like, I think they're infiltrating like, well, I don't think this has been proven. It's just on what scale, but like social media, probably media on some level. I mean, we heard that thing about them paying the podcasters and the right-leaning influencers. Like, I'm sure their influence is big. But once again, we have to be doing it better. I mean, like, I'll give you an example. I saw a whole article yesterday about how China's youth, they're having a real problem with the young population in China. They have a new trend that's called "Let It Rot," which essentially means we don't believe in the economy, the system, the whole thing of China. And so we're just going to do nothing, not participate and let it rot away. And, that is the type of thing that I would be very happy to learn that we, through some tricky propaganda, had some psychological warfare there. Like there's plenty of things going on that I'm sure we're trying to influence and trying to also cause our own chaos,
Yeah, you have to imagine U.S. cybersecurity with conjunction with big tech has infiltrated WeChat.
Yeah.
All these different service providers there. There's no way they aren't.
Well, and also you would think they would know like about their power grid and things. I'm sure they're poking around at their nuclear sites. I'm sure they're fucking all in all their shit.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt.
And maybe part of the reason why we're so not worried is because maybe they have a better look on it than what we know. I don't know. Maybe it's just pure recklessness, but it's just funny when you only hear our side,
What do you think the motivation of the U.S. government is to publicize all this? Is it just liability that they know this happened and your data might be compromised?
Yeah, I think it's just like American culture. Like we have like whistleblowers and shit. So like you have to show that you have a handle on it, that you know about it, and that it's nothing to worry about before someone at one of these internet providers or a good journalist or somebody finds out and makes it look like the US is weaker than we want. Like that is one of the good things, even though we talk a lot about how like, the media is influenced by the government and, free speech debates and all that stuff. I mean, China just has that shit on lock. You come out and say this story in China, they just kill you. You just disappear.
Yeah.
In America, you have a hit podcast because of it, or a popular TikTok clip.
And is it also propaganda marketing that China is the enemy? So Americans know China.
I'm sure.
That's got to be part of the calculus, right?
I'm sure. And we've always done that. Think about like the Red Scare or some of the things we've done to like really build up how scary Russia and China mainly are. I mean, I guess we did it to Japan too. We had some wild imagery of Japanese people during the war. So yeah, it probably also benefits that, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that there's another article. I don't know if it's on there. There's to further your point. There's a venture capital firm out of Silicon Valley. I think it's Cone Capital, and they were investing in Stripe. All the big tech companies that are like brand names, and apparently we're just giving the secrets to Beijing.
Oh, it was like a Chinese company?
It was backed by Chinese LPs.
Right.
And they were investing in all the hot growth companies. And apparently they were just giving all the trade secrets back to China.
It's so crazy. Yeah, we must, man. I want to know. I just want one briefing, like show me what we've done for the last 5 years. I'm sure it's sick, but man, it feels so unstable when you're just hearing our side of it.
Yeah, there's one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. I was gonna go to the next one.
No, I was gonna say, just to stay on the Silicon Valley. Have you seen Mark Andreessen's rants the last 2 days?
No,
on Twitter.
On Twitter, no. To be honest with you, I've kind of taken a break from Twitter. Every time I go on there, it's like nuclear war in Israel. Border stuff. I don't know. That must be my own doing, but my Twitter is fucking crazy. So I've been avoiding it.
So anyways, Mark Andreessen went on a whole rant that, because in Silicon Valley, psychedelics, LSD, shrooms are like rampant amongst founders and employees. And he went on this rant that basically said Burning Man used to be just 1 week of everyone doing hard drugs.
Right.
And then now it's 24/7, 365. Yeah. And founders are quitting. Once they get on these stuff, they leave their companies. They just give up and go become DJs, honestly. I know I've heard enough stories about that. Yep. And I know that whole culture. And it was interesting. The top few powerful people who deals with the biggest founders and biggest executives in technology is ringing an alarm bell. We got to stop this because you're no longer becoming high performing employees. You quit, you give up and you move away or whatever. And I thought I always thought, because I know how that culture works. Yeah. That people do change when they do it all the time.
Right. It's funny too, because I don't know this for 100% fact, but I saw that I don't know, either attendance was down or something was down about Burning Man this year.
Yeah, it was.
It was a little softer. And it would make sense that if Burning Man is just 365 days a year, you don't need to go to Burning Man as much.
Exactly.
So that makes total sense.
You go to Post Ranch Inn and Big Sur. That's what you do.
Right. That's wild.
Every week is Burning Man at Post Ranch Inn.
Right.
Their whole business is Burning Man.
Right.
It's one of the most expensive hotels in California.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, we'll see what happens. We're either going to get some really great inventions or everyone's just going to lose their minds.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think you can get carried away with that stuff. I think it's proven there's benefits for medical treatment on some of the stuff.
Right.
But 365 is probably tough.
You can't. Yeah. Too much of anything is bad. How about too much? One thing that's not bad, at least for these two, is too much money. Yeah. When I say these two, I'm talking about the top I mean, literally the top investors, the top stock traders of our generation.
Yep.
There's nobody like them. It's like their vision and their ability to almost see the future is just insane. You know, like Warren Buffett has a strategy of like, buy a great company and hold it forever. Mm-hmm. These two have a strategy of, you know, fortune telling. They somehow repeatedly get it right. You know, within a month to a few months before something happens, they sure enough knew that it happened. Those two people are Nancy and Paul Pelosi. Let me make sure I don't get this wrong here. They sold more than $500,000 worth of Visa stock just weeks before, you know, the Department of Justice just announced an antitrust lawsuit against Visa. It's this big lawsuit, says they have a monopoly. Big deal. Weeks before, they sold a massive chunk of stock. I mean, they've done this time and time again. It's just mind blowing. I mean, the fact that we just let this happen is so crazy.
It's also crazy that they don't investigate this stuff.
Like, also, why don't they just go to Nancy and be like, yo, dude, like, chill out. All good. Yeah. Like, we're not gonna crack down on this. We never are, but like, chill the fuck out. You got to take a couple losses, you know, like there are literally like hundreds of Twitter pages that just track Nancy Pelosi's stock trading, and there's fake ETFs, and it's a huge meme, and they're just continuing to do it right in front of everyone's face.
What's crazy is they choose who to bust, and they always bust junior kids at investment banks for insider trading that make like 20 grand, 30 grand.
I actually know a kid who got busted, and he was literally that. Harvard grad, junior kid, I think at, you know, Goldman, and, you know, silly little $20,000 trade, and got popped big time.
Yeah, they don't bust the senior people, because I would suspect most hedge funds insider trade, but you don't see anyone at Citadel going to jail.
Right. Well, and here's the thing is, not only do you not see them going to jail, but like similar to the Diddy thing, I know I've said Diddy 15 times already in this episode, but there's more on the way. He wasn't going to, I'm convinced he wasn't going to be arrested either until it got into the news. So like when Cassie filed her lawsuit, it became news first, and then it looks like then they went and investigated and pressed charges. So my point is, I think there's probably also a little bit of an understanding that the head guy at Citadel, you know, if you end up in the news, you're fucked. But you stay under the radar. You don't give us any problems. You keep it whatever. But Nancy Pelosi, it's beyond the news, and it's a full on joke, and it just keeps happening, and no one makes any adjustments.
If you want to go down the Diddy rabbit hole, I think it's hysterical that every A-lister is coming out now and CYA, like, oh, he had a drug problem. He had this problem. We didn't know. We didn't, like, give me a break. Everyone knew. Right. Especially if you're in those circles.
Yeah.
Yes. If
those people laying on the bed, pouring champagne at the white party, they knew.
They all knew. And that was like 25 years ago.
But it's the same way there's like photos of, you know, Oprah with Harvey Weinstein, like super hugging, and everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein. It's just this wild, like everybody knows. It's not until
everyone is on the podcast circuit trying to pretend they weren't involved.
I know.
Because I see clips of it. I don't need to bring up names, but anyone could go on TikTok and see it.
You know who's getting it hard is Ashton Kutcher. There's like these random people that like just happened to, once again, I have no idea if he did anything, probably not. But like there's so many people who were just at a lot of these things, and now they're having to explain themselves.
He has a little bit of a issue too, because remember he and Mila Kunis came out for Danny Masterson.
Right. They're having a rough run.
Like raped tons of women.
Yeah.
And they said he's a great guy.
I don't know about his judgment, you know?
Yeah. I mean, look, if they're supposedly as close of friends as they are, he and Danny Masterson, there's no way you didn't know.
Yeah, there's no way that you didn't know that at least he was like off enough that you probably shouldn't, you know, like there's a lot of people that I know. And once again, I didn't film a TV show with them, but like there's a lot of people that I know that I think they're fine, but I wouldn't publicly support them if something came out.
Right.
Like you got to know, like, oh, he was always a little weird at those parties, or he was a little.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that have been indicted for putting Molly in bottles at clubs.
Right.
And like date rape drugs, and they go to jail.
It's just funny to me how much people go with, like, if you're winning or you're famous or you're rich, like people just go along with your fucking shenanigans until they don't, until you're caught, until you're publicly shamed. And then they all also feel the need. Well, I know some of them feel like they have to protect their reputation, but then they all come out like, oh, I didn't. Had I known, I would have never.
You know what doesn't age well is that Rock Nation party where it was like all of them, and Diddy's like celebrating, you know, we're black billionaires.
I mean, you want to know something funny? I was there and I watched the toast. I mean, fuck, that didn't age well.
And it's literally the most important people in music, right?
I know. And it's just funny because today, I'm sure a lot of this will, you know, blow over or whatever. But like today, if you go back and look at that party and who was there, like, you know, it's everyone's a little shaky right now that was there that year.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
like, I'm not saying Jay-Z did anything, but if you're Jay-Z, I would imagine you're just, you know, staying under the radar.
Yeah. Make sure you're not on the tapes.
Right. And like, just in general, like you don't want to get swept up in this. Even like if the public just decides that you're
done.
Like the public decided that, I would say partly Bill Gates. They definitely decided that who I'm blanking on who the other person was. Definitely Bill Gates. Like Bill Gates' reputation was seriously harmed by his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe he didn't do anything at all. We have no idea. But who wants that affiliation to be made so publicly, you know?
Yeah, Twitter really wants Jay-Z to be involved in something. I'm not accusing him of anything.
I know. I've never heard anything. Nothing, but Twitter is on it. Well, anyway, look, let's just to circle all the way back. Nancy Pelosi. I mean, it's just when it comes to one of the things that I'm getting increasingly like angry about, and I think everyone is, but like it's so frustrating, is just the fact, like, I know that life is messy. I know the government's messy. People are messy. I know things are going to happen. I know all of that. But to blatantly give people a reason to completely distrust institutions, I think is incredibly dangerous. I think that, not to sound dramatic, but I think the government doesn't realize how corrosive and dangerous letting this Nancy Pelosi shit continue actually is. Like, it's the type of massive building block that leads to a general distrust in our government. And that is the type of mentality that can really ruin our country. Now, to reel it all the way back in, it's like, I'm not going to act like I think she's going to be arrested. I'm not going to act like I think the laws are going to change. But like, you have to tell her to chill out. She's made plenty of money. You got to stop these articles. Like, how about you just put everything you got in an S&P index for a couple years and let this shit blow over? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I always like reference back. Remember that show, the Scandal with Kerry Washington?
Yeah.
Well, like, it's probably understated.
I'm sure. Just like
what goes on in the government.
Yeah. I would say like Entourage was that way. Billions is probably that way. Silicon Valley was that way. They're all like these glorified, like amazing shows, but probably understated.
Entourage for sure. I mean, think about how many people we know that
Right.
lived that life.
Right. It was more wild.
Way more wild.
Okay, how about this one? There's constant information, especially this is going to happen anyway with the interest rates and just kind of questions about the economy and all that stuff. But also leading up to election time, there's much more of a reason for people to be talking about all of these data points with the economy. The newest data point that came out recently about jobs in particular is that job openings are now falling off a cliff. So we've talked about job and joblessness numbers. We've talked about the fact that maybe the reason why the Fed raised 50 basis points instead of 25 was because of the job numbers, because, you know, everything else seemed okay. So a lot of people brought that up. The new number is that job openings are falling off a cliff, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think the labor market getting tighter was one of the driving forces of the Fed deciding to cut 50 basis points. I think, you know, as I wish they broke down, because I was trying to find it, what types of job openings are falling off a cliff.
Right. That's huge.
Because they just show a chart that just says job openings are falling off a cliff.
Right.
But it's still higher than it was years ago, meaning it's definitely declining, but it's not catastrophic. So
Right.
I still think, I don't know, in LA at least, I do feel restaurants a little emptier than they used to be.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm not a big restaurant guy, so I can't, you know way better than I do.
Just like anecdotally, it just feels
A little slower.
lighter.
Right. I mean, it makes sense, man. I just think, once again, this one feels weird because there's so many moving pieces, but like inflation was so real for so many people for so long. And once again, I think it's just also easy in our bubble, where in our bubble, a lot of people made a lot of money over the last 5 years. And it's hard to really tell. But the thing that gets me is, I keep saying this on the pod, but like we have literally, by like two different metrics, we've been in a recession, or we've hit a recession over the last year and some change, but we don't call it a recession. We had the 2 negative quarters of GDP. We had I forget what it's called, the something rule, the Dunn's rule, or the something that says you're in a recession. You know, like we've had these moments, but it just kind of feels like we've refused to admit it, or maybe because things are so well in other parts of the economy, we think about that more, or, you know, it just would make sense that these things would start to happen.
Yeah, you would think so. I think job openings is a really good indication that if it's declining, meaning companies aren't hiring.
Right.
Like, are you hiring right now?
Yeah, but small. But we're also such a small company that's like, you know, we're not affected the same way like Olive Garden would be or Walmart would be, you know, because since we're so new and still growing, we'll probably always be hiring for the next 5 years. But definitely less than we were, because, you know, the outlook, we don't know, you know, there's a chance that just general sales and traffic could fall down next year. So you don't have that same optimism. It's just interesting. Remember when we had, like, just 2 years ago, we had the Great Resignation, then we had quiet quitting. Now we have jobless numbers and not even jobs available. Like, it's just funny how quick that narrative changes, you know?
What's scary is the cost of living isn't going down.
Right.
Rent's not going down in any parts of metropolitan cities.
Right. Well, it'll either have to, or people will have to move to fucking Ohio.
They move back with their parents.
Right. I mean, but I thought that was already the thing. I thought like the number of 30-year-olds that live with their parents is like at some record high number.
Yeah, I think it's going to compound pretty quickly. I mean, none of these rents are affordable if you just make a normal living.
So really what it comes down to is the whole country's waiting for the boomers to die.
Yes.
Because then you get the house. And now it's your house.
You get the house. You get their 401k.
Right.
You get everything.
Right. So interesting. Okay.
I just don't know how it's sustainable other than that.
I don't either. But I also, I will say I've stopped. I feel like everything has been so weird for since COVID and since all that money went into the economy, like nothing has made sense to me. Even during COVID, we would joke about how, like, I would say the moment that COVID was sort of announced that it was real and a very big deal and the economy crashed. From that moment on, the economy has not made sense to me for the last 4 or 5 years, because that's when all the stimmy happened. Then everyone was getting super rich. Everyone was buying like crazy, even though they're stuck at home. Then all of a sudden they're let out. Now they're all quitting their jobs, but nobody's even been in the office. Some people are in the office. It's all just been madness.
So in your area, there's a lot of luxury apartments. Do you hear about any deals? Have they cracked or no? Everything's still just as expensive as it was.
I don't, but I don't hear that. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It might be, and I might just not know. But the one thing that I did hear, which is pretty wild, is I don't know the updated, like as of the last 6 months, but there was such a problem with people not paying rent in these nice buildings that we didn't hear about. And, you know, some of the buildings started like getting rid of amenities and getting rid of, some of them had valet and they would get rid of valet, and they were really trimming all of these things. And the reason wasn't rent prices or occupancy. It was the amount of people that were taking advantage of the, you know, whatever you call it, the law in LA that you couldn't evict people, the eviction moratorium. And it was so much that like they couldn't do anything about it. But so the buildings, like the rooms were full, but the money wasn't coming in. Right. And that I think was the most recent really big problem. I don't think yet that it's gotten to, okay, now people just can't pay and we need to lower prices. But I know that just rocked all of the buildings.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I would think that it's going to happen more often.
Yeah. I don't know. Or we turn the fucking money faucet back on, and
I think crypto's helped the LA economy.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. You know, it's doing well. So many people in it. Yeah. How about this? Everyone's fat.
Yep.
So we talked about this a lot, but just updated, you know, this has kind of been the story every year for a while now, unfortunately, but the US obesity rate is about 40%, which is according to a survey from 2021 to 2023. Here's the crazy thing. Nearly 1 in 10 of those people are severely obese. That's a huge issue. Now, I don't even know how to address this because we know that this is insane. We know that this is an America problem. And then we also have the, you know, Wegovy, Ozempic sort of solution. I mean, it comes with a lot of its own problems. There's a lot of other, but I don't know. I mean, that's where we're at. What do you see here?
I see on the morning sports shows that I watch when I wake up, Ozempic's like every other ad, Wegovy's every other ad,
right?
Mounjaro,
right?
And we know those businesses are all exploding, so it's kind of tough to like. Why is severe obesity still rising? Does that just mean their TAM is just like endless?
Yes, I think they've just not even close to cracked the market. Right. Yep. I think those numbers in 2 more years will be 20%. It'll seem like the whole country is getting in shape. The question is, I don't know, is there other downstream effects of these medications and things? I don't know, but it's just, man, we just have
I do think people just enjoy eating bad shit. Like it brings joy to them.
well, it does. I mean, scientifically it does, like
So
it's a self-control thing,
I'll give a personal example. So when we're in the hospital at UCLA with Mav,
Yeah.
I eat like shit.
Right. In the hospital.
I leave and go to CBK, In and Out, get mozzarella sticks.
But the hospital food's not great either, but yes.
Yeah. The hospital food. Yeah. That's a whole nother discussion. Right. But it's like comfort food. Like you're just eating greasy shit because you're just stressed out. You're like, fuck it. Let's just go for it.
Well, to me, like, once again, getting too deep here to really have any solution, but to me, that's the actual like root of the problem is why don't people, like, don't get me wrong. I know that our food system is super fucked. I know that we've made really unhealthy food, really available and really cheap and really right in your face. I know all of that. And I know that it's really hard to, use your willpower in those moments. I'm not going to act like I don't know that, but look, at this point, it's pretty well known, like how bad it is. People can obviously see the changes in their own body. Like, I'm curious why people are living in a state that they feel like you feel when you're at Cedars.
Yeah.
Like, why do they not give a fuck? That is the question.
Yeah. If you're not in that stressful moment, then yeah, that's the issue. So there's a good clip. Max Lugavery, who's been on the pod, friend of the pod, he testified in Congress. I saw him post it. I don't know when he actually gave his testimony. It was about eating healthy. And he said, it was really like a profound statement. He goes, if you go to the grocery store, there's one section that says healthy food. And he's like, effectively, what the fuck is going on in the rest of this grocery store?
Right. It's really crazy when you look at it that way. It's crazy. And I think the craziest thing to me, once again, this is the part that makes me annoyed, is when you go to other countries, they have the same items, but the dyes and the ingredients and the things are different because they
100%.
have rules. And
There's
that's the part that's crazy.
There's a restaurant. I think it's part of this Sugarfish family. Uovo. Have you had it?
Yeah,
it's right down the street. Mm-hmm. And they fly in the pasta from Italy, and I've had it, and I don't feel bloated.
Right. Me too. Same. It's ridiculous. It's such an issue, and I don't know. Once again, it's just another thing. It's another. I don't know, man. I do believe at some point this stuff catches up, and like you pay for it some way. Like, I know that right now the way it works is everyone gets sick. Then the pharmaceutical companies make a bunch of money off them. Everyone makes money. Great. People, are unhappy and unhealthy and die earlier. Great. That's not the end of the story. Like, something has to give here. And, I don't know. I don't know enough about all this Ozempic stuff to know. Who knows? Maybe that is kind of a solution. Like, maybe if it can get people down to like a weight where they could start to work out, maybe it helps a lot of people, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think the hospital thing's the funniest. If you go to any hospital, you go to like the cafeteria, 90% of it is junk.
I mean, that is absurd.
And it's doctors, nurses, patients.
Right. That's absurd. Like, even just what that represents, is like here. And we're talking about also the best hospital, one of the best hospitals in the country.
Yeah.
And we're saying that at the top with the smartest people that know the most, they're eating shit. And they're also serving shit to, the patients and the patients' visitors. There's not even an awareness in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you go to like Equinox, I'm not saying anything about Equinox, but if you go to Equinox in LA, which is a nice gym, They don't serve cheeseburgers. And most of the places around that pop up around an Equinox are like an Erewhon or a juice bar or there's an awareness. But you go to a hospital and there's pizza and fucking mac and cheese. It's so crazy.
It is crazy. Is it just a cost thing? Because they have to feed, any of these big hospitals have to feed a ton of people and they have to make it affordable.
I don't believe it. I think that's a cop out at this point. Because I just think you can serve chicken breast and broccoli. And I don't know, man. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy that it's only cost. Especially the reason why I don't buy it's only cost is because Cedars. If that was happening at random little hospital in Alabama, I got it. Cedars can have fucking Erewhon in their thing and Uovo and Sugarfish. It's just it's an awareness thing. I will tell you, there's I was listening to some of Chamath's on Rogan today. And one really interesting idea that Chamath just said really quickly was so the problem is I don't know the number, but if you look at what food is bought with food stamps, it's pretty mind blowing. It's a bunch of soda and things. Mm-hmm. And so what if with food stamps, you could only buy certain foods? And then what if we use the same model as cloud kitchens, but it was essentially meal prep? And what if your food stamps went towards picking out your meals on a cloud kitchen model that delivered you healthy meals? What if you could do it? The amount that we spend on food stamps, theoretically, you could do it. But just all of these innovative ideas, but we just don't think that way. We have pizza in our nicest hospitals.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the donors of any of the major hospitals in LA, they donate billions of dollars, these people.
Right.
Why isn't one person saying hey, we're cleaning up the food supply?
Right. What's crazy to me is why wouldn't one person say, you know what? We want to be the same way we feel like we are in medicine. We want to be the leading hospital in the country. We want to be the example. And a big way of doing that, I'm sure they do that with the way that they clean and the way that they do their surgeries and the people they have. They pride themselves on that. If they did that also with what was available from soda to soda machines to snack machines, if they did that across the board, it would be such a great example. But even they just don't care.
They don't care. And even in the hospital bed, if you look at the food menu, it's just nonsense.
Poison. Crazy. Okay. How about this? Caroline Ellison or Carolyn. Is it Carolyn or Caroline?
Who cares? She's in jail.
Who gives a fuck? She's a criminal. Sam Bankman-Fried's side piece or wife or wifey, whatever she was. Bay, perfect. From the whole FTX thing. She finally, went to trial. She's been found guilty. She's been sentenced to 2 years in jail, but she must also forfeit $11 billion.
How does she have that kind of money?
I know. These snakes. She's the one who had the fund too, right?
Yeah. And so it's Alameda Research and obviously FTX. So what they basically were doing is stealing customer deposits, doing crazy trades through Alameda Research. Then crypto crashed and everyone, it sounds like they're going to get the money back, which is kind of crazy. But they're getting the money back based on the price from when the crash happened.
Yeah, that's fucked
you
up.
do lose that. You lose the spread, right? Bitcoin was at 16K and now it's at 60 something.
That's crazy. I mean, still positive, but that's rough.
But she snitched. She was facing over 25 years and they said she cooperated so much that they only gave her 2.
Well, yeah, that seems a little light though. What SBF get?
I think 110 years.
Oh, he did? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so she probably just told them every detail about him. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, he's not leaving jail for the rest of his life.
Damn. Well, here's the last time I'm gonna say it a few more times. Diddy and old Sam Bankman-Fried are in the same jail.
Yeah.
This says they're bunkmates. That's a joke, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're bunkmates.
Right.
I think I saw some clips on social that when you're this high profile like Diddy, you get isolated.
Right.
So like people don't fuck with you.
Right. He'd have to.
What's crazy, Suge Knight did an interview from prison.
I saw he has a podcast called Collect Call. He has a fucking podcast.
And he was talking about Diddy from prison.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, to my understanding, I've never listened to it, but he has a podcast called Collect Call where I think he makes his call and they record it and they put it out as a podcast.
Wild
2024. Yeah, well, that's just a funny little, I think when it comes to, I don't know, like ridiculous, funny criminal news of the last year or two, SBF and Diddy being in the same jail is, something you would write in the comedy script, and it's reality.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really think they're already setting it up because they call it Suicide Watch, and we talked about it in the last podcast.
Right.
I think they're setting up the script.
Yeah. I mean,
there's too many important people involved.
Yeah.
Similar to Epstein. They're saying he had like New York politicians on tape. I don't know if that's councilmen or senators or mayors or what. What does that even mean?
Right. Because I will say, like, even though I think Diddy's world was mostly like entertainment and music, I think I'd be silly not to think that also there weren't some politician types and business types and,
of course,
I definitely record label execs, but of course, like you think it's only fucking Ashton Kutcher and Leo in there. Like, come on, Meek Mill. Like, there's no way, dude. The way that he, was like, and keep in mind, he was very known throwing the biggest parties in the biggest cities for a very long time. There's just no way. And what do businessmen and politicians love more than anything? Celebrities. And I don't know. I'm really curious how this one plays out because I think there's a lot of people below him that are probably incriminated. And I think there's probably some people above him. And
yeah, you got to think it's the biggest business tycoons in the world leaders. Right. It's everyone.
And I think he would probably at this point, I mean, look, having a life like he had and then going to looking at jail, sitting in jail for the rest of your life. I mean, he's going to tell them whatever they want to know. He's going to cooperate.
And a lot of people,
he's Caroline Ellison.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't want him to talk.
Right. Oh, it's so crazy. Okay. Last thing is that 50 Cent is fucking one of a kind, man. He is just, 50 Cent, I'm sure everyone knows, but in case you don't, like, he has become an incredible just troll on social media. Like he definitely goes at Diddy and has been going at Diddy more than probably anyone else, but he's just kind of taken his old skills of like making beef records and he's translated them into social media and just says the wildest shit on social media. And he's been going extra hard at Diddy. The other thing about him is that, in this second phase of his life, he's really transitioned into TV and film producer guy. And so he's combined his two favorite things, which is putting Diddy on blast and making content. And he has apparently taken a documentary about Pfaff to Netflix. It looks like it's covering decades of abuse and things. And holy shit.
Yeah. So apparently he started pitching this in December of last year.
Oh man, he knew.
So this is before he was arrested, indicted, all this stuff. What's crazy, like 50 Cent is our moral authority now.
Right.
Like if you think about all the people in music, 50 Cent is the guy that was like,
thought?
hey, there's a lot of fucked up shit going on.
Yeah, who would have thought? Like, he's the guy. You're right.
It just shows how incriminated everyone else is. This guy,
Yeah.
he listen to his records. This guy's been shot.
Yeah.
He's drug dealing.
Yeah.
He's like, he probably was involved with a lot of wild shit.
Right.
And was like, this guy is fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. Because you know what else must be a really messy situation is, no pun intended, is like, I would say most like directors and producers in this town, you know, at a minimum have a relationship or want to with somebody that was at a lot of these parties. And so, you know, if Leo calls you and is like, hey, dude, like, let's just stay away from that. You know, let's let everything kind of blow over. Like, not a lot of people are going to take this project, you know, but 50 Cent just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, because the other people are probably involved.
Right. He must also be really
a-
confident with his history, you know, like he must have, you know, treated women nicely. He must have.
Yeah, he seemingly is a model citizen.
I know.
Because no one else is saying shit. Everyone's just trying to distance themselves from the whole decades of debauchery.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
So I have an interesting story.
Yep.
So the trainer I work with now.
Oh, God. Does he know murderers?
No. At this point, who knows?
Right.
So he was in LA he grew up here and he wanted to be an actor. Mm-hmm. And he just like found spirituality, disappeared to India to become like a yogi. And he's a Hispanic guy from LA. And now he's back in LA training people. And he was telling me that when he was trying to be an actor at casting sessions, he's a good looking dude. He's ripped. He's jacked. He's like, you had to sleep with the casting director in order to get advanced in your career.
Right.
And he saw that and was like, fuck this. This is stupid.
Right. I think that's probably really true.
It has to be.
Yeah. Because the problem too is at that level, like I think it works like that at all levels, but especially at that level, like there's not a huge difference between the talent. You know, it's like a bunch, you know, and so the only way to differentiate is who the casting director likes more.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially at the entry level.
Yeah.
Like who knows who's a good actor at that point?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it so close. I've been very close to the world of like photographers and fashion models, and the stories there are very similar because like what's really the difference in looks between this girl and the 10 other girls? They're all 10s. So whoever the photographer likes more or whoever the casting agent likes more is who gets the job. And that job might be their ticket to a fucking Louis Vuitton campaign or something, at least in their mind. And so naturally, not everyone, but a lot of people take advantage of that power, you know, like, I don't know. There's been lists in LA of like photographers that you shouldn't, you know, that you have to look out for. Even when we were doing shoots and stuff, I would have to make sure that we were careful of who we used because there'd be lists of photographers that are creepy and pervy and all those things. And I think in any world like that, unfortunately, people become sickos.
And from what his story was that it was all male that were approaching him.
Yeah. Because males are sick, dude. There's just not a lot of chicks that are like, I know what I'm going to do at 47. I'm going to become a casting director and fuck a bunch of little kids. There are way more guys that are like, I'm going to hook up with a bunch of 20-year-old dudes. It's just,
it's exactly right.
Yeah. It's just, we're fucking sick. Anyway, who's your winner for Let's Do Winners, Losers content? Who's your winner for the last week?
My winner is Shohei Ohtani. He is on the Dodgers. He was originally a pitcher. So he's like the modern day Babe Ruth. Right. So he like had a injury where he can't pitch this year. So he hasn't pitched all year. And he broke a milestone in baseball that's never been done. Over 50 home runs and over 50 stolen bases with a shitty arm.
I wondered what 50-50 was. I kept seeing 50-50.
Yeah. So this guy, you know, even like the baseball players I know, they're like, there's no question he's the greatest player of all time for baseball.
Really?
There's like, it's not even close.
Really?
Yeah. Like Ryan Braun told me that. And obviously he's a authority on the game.
Right. That's wild. I would love to know more about his, I'm sure it's out there, but like, how did he get so fucking good? He's from Japan?
Yeah, he's from Japan. Wow. I don't know how he's this good. Yeah. He can't even pitch. He can't even throw the ball.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know how you're hitting home runs. You can't throw the ball.
And he bet $321 million gambling.
Yeah, he's wild. He's a wild guy. Holy shit. Okay, yeah, he's definitely a winner of the week. Mine, I'm going to give it to Zuck. Zuck's doing his Meta conference right now. And, you know, to me, there's nothing, well, there's a lot of really impressive stuff. There's not one thing that I think is like so amazing. They did show, we talked about it in the group chat. There's a really cool feature where AI is going to translate Instagram Reels into, it'll be able to translate it into other countries in your voice. It looks like speaking other languages. And so just little stuff like that. But I don't know, Zuck, the whole rebrand, you know, I would say Zuck definitely won on the VR goggle competition with Apple. You know, Apple came out with their big VR goggles and no one really cares now. And, you know, the Meta goggles seem to still be doing well. But yeah, just Zuck rebrand, Zuck doing his presentation of his new stuff, new AI. I mean, I'm just happy for the guy. So I just was watching some clips and happy for him.
And he's got the streetwear look, the oversized tee.
Did his shirt say Zuck on it?
I didn't catch that, but it was like,
Josh, look at the group chat and see if I think his shirt says Zuck in like
his
old
shirt
English.
Looked like what Jerry Lorenzo would wear.
Yes.
At like a fashion show.
Yeah. He did it. I'm telling you, combat sports, everyone, if you're feeling a little awkward, you know, socially awkward, maybe whatever it is, go try to learn a combat sport. It might do wonders for your,
because the uniform in tech, because a lot of the guys are in shape. They wear like skin tight t-shirts to show that they're in shape. And he's obviously in shape because he's like beating ass every day.
Right.
And he went the other way. It was like, I'm streetwear now.
Right. And keep in mind, I would say he's the one who like really owned the like shitty hoodie trend in tech founders. And man, he had a glow up. Yeah, I'm telling you, it does, right?
It does say Zuck on it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's confidence. I mean, learning a combat sport did what $100 billion couldn't for his confidence. Pretty impressive.
Yes, confidence through the roof.
I
think that's typical with fitness. If you get really fit, you just feel more confident about yourself.
Agree. That's totally true. Okay, who's your loser?
So it's to be determined if they're a loser yet. Okay. But the CTO of OpenAI just resigned abruptly.
That's fishy.
And when things like that happen, there's got to be cracks within the company.
Right.
Because who's leaving a rocket ship like this?
Right. And that's a good point. Like, no matter how bad it is, you're sticking around for the success.
Yeah, it's a $150 billion company. I mean, if you're a CTO, you own like a very significant amount of money of that 150 billion.
Right.
And you resigned. I wonder what Sam Altman's doing over there. Is he just like driving people out?
I mean, it is a little scary to me that this technology that everyone says could be, you know, needs to be regulated and watched so closely. The leader, the company who's leading it has so many problems, like with like people problems, not like financial problems. It's a little crazy. I mean, if you think about the amount of like, there was a whole, like there was a mutiny like 9 months ago and we don't even talk about it anymore. You know,
They try to get rid of everyone.
it's crazy. I'd like to. I
And
really think we deserve to know.
And he's on Elon's shit list. So Elon's just going to keep attacking him.
Right. And also, like, why? I'm not saying you have to trust Elon as the moral authority, but like, why did the guy who came up with the name and seeded the company, why does he hate you?
Right.
You know, what's going on here? There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think it's a fishy, like, I would not be an investor at a $150 billion company if I owned a fund.
Yeah. But somehow it also just keeps like moving forward. I mean, hopefully this will be a Netflix series one day.
Yeah, it could be. It could be like the new social network.
Right. Okay. My loser. This is the last time I'll say the D word. Apparently, Diddy. Apparently, I don't know. I haven't seen how real or set in stone this is, but there's starting to be articles and stuff now about his kids' potential involvement and like potential arrests for criminal activity. And I just, either way.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's early and I don't know if it'll gain any steam. I have no idea what, he did but his one son, Justin King Combs is like, he's out. Like he's out and about.
They're all out.
Well, right. But I would say he's very out. He's like making rap videos. He made a rap song after the raid of the LA house and like taunted the feds. Like, oh, the feds didn't check the house next door or something like that. Like just like not the right move. And so anyway,
I mean, they're all adults at this point. So It's certainly on the table.
Right. So that's some stuff that's bubbling and it's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we're going to keep talking about this as it goes through the process. But if that's the case, that's just, I would say failing as a human, is bad. Like is what Diddy has shown. But like to then do that to your kids potentially, that's next level. So they're all losers.
I mean, they have to be on tape.
Right.
If
and
they
it's like,
confiscate
they
the
were
tapes.
Right. They were at the parties, I mean, it's just not good. Anyway. What's your content for the weekend or the week that you
mentioned it
liked?
Before? I started it only like 15 minutes in. Chamath on Joe Rogan. Right. I just like the contrast of people from very different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And have you finished it?
No, I'm probably halfway through. I've been a little in and out. It's pretty good though. And I agree. I think like you and I both like listening to Rogan. We also like All In. Those two things together, even though those were two kind of separate worlds. So those together is good.
Yeah.
But they're having a good chat. They get along well, it's a good pod.
It's so impressive. Rogan's versatility.
Right.
Like he's talking to Chamath one day, an MMA guy the next day.
Right.
Then a scientist the day after.
Right. I mean,
then a wellness guy.
One thing that's fascinating to me just about like human performance is like, I don't know if at this point there's any other person in the world who has had the minutes of conversations with the amount of experts in diverse topics. Like who else? And I would just imagine if you even have like a mild memory and a recall ability, which Joe Rogan does, like you would just, it's kind of like the 10,000 hours rule. It's like the guy has just sat for 3 hours at a time with some of the most interesting or smartest or whatever people in the world for so long. It's interesting what that would do to a person, Yeah.
And like the episode before Chamath was, I don't know if you listened, the League of Skanks. I don't even know what that was.
I didn't. But they're really funny.
Well, I just threw it on last night. I was bored.
Right.
And it's just hysterical.
Yes.
Then he can do that.
Yes.
It's just like, they're just talking shit.
It's wild. No matter what you feel about Rogan, it's like just looking at like him as a study of a person, like it's wild. There's just no one like him with that diversity and that like ability to go deep on these different things. He can go deep about complete comedy bullshit nonsense for 3 hours, or go deep with Chamath about, the future of AI
and education. That's where I kind of left off. Right. And I think what's so understated about him is his influence on consumer behavior.
Yeah.
Like the sauna cold plunge thing is all him. Like no one's going to admit it.
I think everyone should.
Talking about it every episode for years.
Yep.
Everyone I know has a sauna and a cold plunge now.
I would argue that his influence on men's, especially, but also women's, but especially men's like health and wellness is probably like multi billions.
Oh, easy.
It's like Liquid IV and all the hydration things and the exercising and the like. Just I bet it's, if you could somehow add it up. Like, I don't think the company Plunge exists without Joe Rogan.
No
or
chance.
The other
that's
five.
The plunge. That's the plunge I have.
Same. Yeah, I think it's pretty crazy. Love it. Content. Am I on my? For content for me, a lot of people actually asked, which is very flattering because normally nobody asks me about my books. That book that I was reading is called Why Empires Fail. I forget who the author is, but if you just look that up, you'll find it. I mentioned it on the pod a couple of times, talking about it gives a history of why the Roman Empire collapsed and what any similarities are with the current Western Empire. So for anyone out there who was curious what book I was talking about, that's it. It was good. You should read it.
Nice.
That's it. Okay, what do we got? We have some YouTube highlights. We got a lot here. Okay, here's some highlight comments from our YouTube. Oh, this is good. UFC Sphere 324, Anand versus Manolo, sponsored by Young and Reckless. I'm in. The sponsor. I'm in for the sponsor. I can help with training. I'm
not a fighter. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm a peaceful guy.
MGADIR 4670. We tried.
It's funny though.
Very funny. Okay. Next, props to Anand. Man, people love your shit talking. Okay. Props to Anand for the beef. Take our boy seriously. Manolo looks like Scar from The Lion King. Took some baby oil from Diddy. Holy shit.
I've got a lot of support on the beef.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Discord's been very supportive.
I also think our audience doesn't want you to be fucked with. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think I'm a very nice person. So,
right.
Treat people kindly.
I agree. Like, I think if someone was like talking shit to Dee, they'd probably be like, get him, but like with you, they're like, don't touch him, Okay. Next up, Recession 2025 is coming. Going to look forward to the pod during those times. Well, hope you're wrong. But we will be here. And let me just tell you this, even though in no way do I want a recession, whatever that means anymore, either way, it'll be great content. So, recession group chat would also be a great group chat.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have some shout outs from Daniel. I want to give a shout out for the next pod to Anand in regards of the Manolo situation. As the old saying goes, you never want to meet your heroes in person. They'll surely let you down. There you go.
It's good.
From old Satoshi, would he ever go to a Kathy's wedding considering that he's the wedding guy? Oh, that must be for you. From Satoshi.
Sounds like it.
Would you ever go to a Kathy's wedding considering you're the wedding guy? So it sounds like, is Satoshi getting married or is he just... Would you ever go to a Kathy's wedding? No, right? I mean, that's crazy.
That would be a little time consuming.
Like just a straight up Kathy that we don't know.
Yeah, I would love the invite, but I don't know if I could
yeah, you're right. You're right. It's one of those like would be nice to be invited but won't go sort of things.
Yeah.
Okay. From Max, great episode today. I want to give a shout out to Manolo, golf dude. Poor guy makes his living being an imposter, playing a character that ain't even himself. He probably shows off people Oh, he probably shoes off people he doesn't recognize because he can't stay in character all the time. And he's embarrassed because his whole persona and life is a fraud. Damn. Okay, more important shout out goes to Anand. Don't take that dude's nonsense personally. It's got way more to do with him being pathetic and an authentic little bitch and nothing to do with who you are as a person. While I really do not align with a lot of Anand's blue, no matter who BS political views, what I love and respect the heck out of him for is sticking to his guns and knowing who he is. MFer doesn't waver. He's authentic. Manolo is literally a clown. Thanks to the whole group chat team for making long weeks more doable and my life more enjoyable. Tons of love and respect from San Francisco. Even though you guys shit on us all the time. Yes, we do. But love and respect back. Dude, you got a little army behind you here.
People coming to defense. 2 people reached out to try to get him on the pod, and I said no, absolutely not.
That's amazing. I have a feeling I'm going to see him. I see him sometimes. And I mean, whatever, I got your back, but I'm just really curious now. If this hits his radar, it's like, what the fuck? What did I do?
Like, I know a golfer that plays like pretty much every day.
Yep.
And he's like, I told the story in our group chat. He's like, what the fuck?
Right.
He's like, no one cares about him in golf.
Right.
And this is like someone who's like super dialed in. And then another golf influencer account reached out to me shitting on him too.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think he's just kind of an asshole,
Yeah.
Sounds like that's what it seems to be adding up to. Well, he fucked up because now the Cathys are pissed.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is gonna, like, I'm sure he probably already is aware of it, but like, a Kathy's gonna like see him. Like when we were doing that whole time frame where I was shitting on country clubs, like every time I would go to a country club, someone would come up to me and be like, hey, don't shit on this place. And I just feel like a lot of the Cathys are like golfers in the, Manolo's scene. Someone's going to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Gonna be, and if someone talks to him, report back in the comments.
There you go. It's like, when the Drake and Kendrick thing happened, we knew people that were affiliated with both camps that got a little nervous because you never know what a crazy fan's going to do. And I'm just saying, I mean, the Cathys, if I was Manolo, I'd be careful over at those country clubs.
That's good.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Everyone have a great rest of your week and weekend. And we'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know if Dee's traveling again. So
yeah, we'll see. I'm
Sunday.
Actually probably traveling on Sunday too. Well, we'll see. We'll see what Dee's up to. We'll figure it out. All right, guys. Everyone have a good week. Peace.